The Yorkshire Three Peaks is a well-known hiking challenge, combining three of the highest summits of the Yorkshire Dales. The Three Peaks race, following a slight variation of the hiking route, is one of the biggest fell races. For many runners, it's one of the highlights of the year. For me, it was supposed to be part of my training for the Lakeland 50, but after COVID reshuffled the calendar, their order was switched. I hadn't been doing much training after the Lakeland, so I had no competitive ambitions for the Three Peaks race. I even considered sitting it out entirely, after a fall 2 weeks before had left me with a bruised knee. Eventually, I decided that it felt sufficiently recovered for a non-competitive run. The Three Peaks race calls itself the Marathon with Mountains, even though it is a few miles short of marathon distance. And some would argue that, at only about 700 meters above sea level, the peaks are hills, not mountains. I have come to think of hills and mountains as defined by ruggedness and remoteness, not height. A hill is something you can climb without planning. To get safely up and down a mountain, you need sure-footedness, suitable kit, and respect for the unexpected. In that sense, the Three Peaks are mountains. That's indicated, for example, by the unexpected cloud cover we encountered on the summits, and by the steep and sometimes slippy terrain. But it's illustrated even better by the story of what happened to a former clubmate of mine. Shortly after summiting the last of the Three Peaks, he took a fall and seriously injured his knee, leaving him unable to make his way down. It took mountain rescue about 4 hours to get him down off the mountain to the nearest roads. The difference between a hill and a mountain is what happens when things go south. Whether you need a simple ambulance or a dozen selfless volunteers with specialized equipment. Going south, but not nearly as far, was also what my race was doing. Right after the first peak, my comparably insignificant knee injury started playing up. It just wasn't sufficiently recovered for downhill running. I decided that it would be a pointless risk to try and descend 2 more mountains. I walk-jogged the relatively flat section between the descent of the first peak and the checkpoint before the second one. And there I stopped. One of my runner friends, who had only come down to watch, was spectating just past the checkpoint and noticed my absence. A few minutes later, he found me waiting for the event minibus and offered me a lift back to the finish instead. There, I would enjoy some hot food in the marquee as a light shower passed over. And when it cleared up a little, I watched in pleasant company as the first runners finished the race. A bit later, when the news about the injured runner came in, I admired how friends and acquaintances came together to help out in whatever little way they could. Maybe this is what makes the fell running community different from road runners. Occasionally, we are reminded of what can go wrong. This was my first ever DNF, did not finish. But that doesn't matter. I take more pride in having taken the sensible decision to retire than I ever did in my perfect record of finishing races. And it's not the DNF that will define my memories of the event, but the day out with lovely people that came together when things went wrong.
Mats Vermeerman, who is from Belgium. Come on, Mats, get back running. You can do it. I know we've got more hills than Belgium, but come on.